The storm raged. Waves crashed against the rocky cliffs below the lighthouse, their fury echoing the turmoil in the lighthouse keeper's heart. Wind howled like a banshee, rattling the windows and threatening to extinguish the light that was the only hope for miles around. Rain lashed down in sheets, blurring the already indistinct line between sea and sky. It was a night where even the bravest sailor would seek the safety of the harbor, a night where the elements seemed determined to reclaim the land. Inside the lighthouse, old Thomas, the keeper, fought a different kind of storm. His weathered face, usually etched with the calmness of a seasoned sailor, was creased with worry. His calloused hands, used to the feel of rope and the cold steel of the lighthouse mechanism, trembled slightly. He knew the dangers of the sea as well as anyone, but tonight the storm presented him with a choice, a burden no amount of experience could prepare him for. A high-pitched wail pierced the roaring wind, sending a chill down Thomas's spine. It was the distress signal from the lifeboat, its faint cry barely audible over the storm's fury. It was a sound that made his blood run cold, a sound that spoke of imminent danger and desperate hope. He rushed to the window, his heart pounding against his ribs, and strained to see through the driving rain. The signal was faint, but it was coming from the jagged rocks to the east, known as the Devil's Teeth for their treacherous nature. A shiver ran down his spine. It was the most perilous part of the coastline, a graveyard for many a ship, and tonight it held the fate of a lone lifeboat struggling against the wrath of the storm. Every instinct in his being screamed at him to do something, to act, to save. But another equally urgent situation demanded his attention. Out at sea, beyond the Devil's Teeth, a fleet of merchant ships was sailing blindly towards the rocky coast. The storm had knocked out their navigation systems, and they were heading straight into the path of the hidden reef. Thomas knew that without the guiding beam of the lighthouse, they would be ripped apart by the unforgiving rocks, their fate sealed beneath the raging waves. He was their only hope, the lone protector against the fury of the storm. His heart pounded a heavy rhythm against his ribs, each beat echoing the impossible choice he had to make. Turn the lighthouse towards the east, towards the desperate cries of the lifeboat, and save a single soul from the clutches of the sea, or maintain its course, guiding the fleet away from the treacherous rocks and save countless lives at the expense of one. Time seemed to stand still as Thomas wrestled with the impossible decision. The weight of countless lives pressed down on him, yet the thought of abandoning a fellow human being to the mercy of the storm was unbearable. His conscience raged like the storm outside, each option a path fraught with despair and sacrifice. He glanced from the flashing red light to the churning sea, where he knew the fleet was depending on him. Suddenly an idea, a desperate gamble, sparked in his mind. He raced to the storage room, adrenaline lending speed to his old limbs. There he found what he was looking for, a flare gun, its bright orange casing, a beacon of hope in the dimly lit room. It was a long shot, a desperate plea against the fury of the storm, but it was the only chance he had. He sprinted back to the top of the lighthouse, the flare gun clutched tightly in his hand. He took aim, his heart pounding in his chest, and fired. The flare shot into the night sky, a streak of brilliant red against the angry black clouds. He prayed that it would be enough, that it would catch the eye of the lifeboat passenger and guide him to safety. With a heavy heart, he turned his attention back to the fleet. He adjusted the lighthouse beam, sweeping it across the water, ensuring it provided a clear path through the treacherous rocks. He could only hope, pray that his signal had been seen, that his frantic gamble had paid off. Hours later, as the first light of dawn pierced through the receding storm clouds, a rescue boat arrived at the lighthouse, carrying the survivor from the lifeboat. The man, soaked and exhausted, looked at Thomas with gratitude shining in his eyes. The flare, he said, had been his salvation, guiding him towards the rocky shore just as his strength had given out. As the storm subsided and the sea returned to its rhythmic lull, Thomas felt the weight of the night's events settle deep in his bones. He had made a choice, a gamble, and in the face of unimaginable pressure, he had found a way to honor both his duty and his conscience. He had saved a life, and in doing so, he had learned a profound lesson about adaptability, courage, and the heavy burden of moral responsibility.